All right, let's talk about the massive paradox that is AI. On one hand, you've got these incredible, mind-blowing capabilities. But on the other, there are some serious, real-world costs for us humans. So let's dive right in.
So, here's a wild question for you. Is AI actually getting better at being human than we are? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie. But the data, well, the data is making us take this question very, very seriously. We've always thought things like empathy were our thing, right? What happens when that's not the case anymore?
Okay, so check this out. A study from 2025 put generative AI through a standard emotional IQ test. The result? The AI scored an 82%, and humans, our average was 56%. That's a huge gap. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean the AI is feeling anything. Not at all. It's just that it's gotten incredibly good at understanding and reasoning about emotions. So good, in fact, that it's statistically beating us at our own game.
And that brings us to our first big idea here. AI's mind-blowing technical power. Seriously, this isn't a gradual thing anymore. It's an all-out sprint. AI is charging into territory we always thought was reserved just for us.
All right, let's talk coding for a sec. This benchmark, SWE Bench, it's not some easy, made-up test. Nope, it uses real, messy coding problems from GitHub. In 2023, AI could only fix about 4.4% of them. But just 1 year later, get ready for this, that number skyrocketed to over 70%.
Yeah, you heard that right. 71.7%. Let that sink in for a minute. We're not talking about writing Hello World. This is AI tackling complex, real-world software bugs and fixing them at a level that can go toe-to-toe with seasoned human developers. It's a game changer.
And it's not just code, it's everywhere. AI is crushing tests that are designed to be Google-proof. It's scoring in the top 10% on the bar exam for lawyers. It's correctly answering 90% of medical licensing questions. And in medicine, it's actually detecting cancer 4% more accurately than human radiologists. So you see, it's not just good at one thing. Its expertise is getting incredibly wide and incredibly deep.
Okay, so all that capability is amazing. But there's another side to this coin, and it has everything to do with our jobs and the economy. This isn't just about some jobs disappearing. We're talking about a complete shakeup of what it even means to have a career.
The World Economic Forum has a pretty startling projection. They think that by 2030, AI is going to displace 92 million jobs around the world. 92 million. That's a huge number, and it forces us to ask a really tough question. Who's going to bear the brunt of this change?
Well, it turns out the impact is not going to be equal, not even close. The numbers show that 79% of working women are in jobs that are at high risk of being automated. For men, that number is 58%. And why is that? It's largely because jobs with high exposure, like admin and clerical roles, are jobs where women are overrepresented.
And if we zoom in, you can see exactly where this is hitting hardest. Data entry, that's facing a 95% risk of automation, basically almost total. Customer service is at 80%. And you've probably already noticed this, right? Chatbots are everywhere, handling work that used to take thousands of people. This isn't some far-off future, it's happening right now.
This leads to a really big problem down the road, what some are calling the entry-level crisis. Think about it. Those junior jobs have always been how we train the next generation of experts. If half of them vanish, where do young people start? How do they climb the ladder? It's like we're taking out the first few rungs.
So we've talked about jobs, but the story doesn't end there. There are other, more hidden dangers that we really need to get our heads around as AI becomes a bigger part of our daily lives.
One of the scariest is something called algorithmic bias. Here's how it works. AI learns from data created by humans. And let's be honest, our history is full of biases. The AI doesn't know any better. It just learns what we give it. So it starts making biased decisions, for example, in hiring or in the justice system. And here's the kicker. Those biased decisions create new data, which just feeds right back into the system, making the bias even worse. It's a vicious cycle.
Then there's this other fascinating, kind of scary idea, cognitive atrophy. Think of it like a muscle. If you stop using your critical thinking and memory skills because you're just asking AI to do it for you, those mental muscles can get weaker. The risk isn't just that we forget how to do things, it's that we might forget how to learn them in the first place.
Okay, so I know that all sounds pretty heavy, but it's not all doom and gloom. So what's the answer? What do we do? Well, it's pretty clear the path forward isn't about humans versus machines. It's about figuring out how we can be humans with machines.
And this is where things get really exciting. The future isn't a choice between one or the other. It's about building a partnership. Look at what each side brings to the table. AI is incredible at processing huge amounts of data, finding patterns, and just working at a massive scale. But humans, we bring the stuff that's really hard to code: morality, real empathy, and just getting the messy, complicated context of a situation. They're not competing, they're complementary. So what does this mean for you? It means the skills that matter are changing. It's not about doing the repetitive stuff anymore. The new premium skills are things like big-picture strategic thinking, knowing your field inside and out, leading teams, and most importantly, having the critical thinking to know when to use AI and how to check its work.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract idea. You have leaders like Generative from Snowflake, India, talking about how this is a massive opportunity for countries to leapfrog ahead. They can use AI to tackle huge problems in things like healthcare or farming, creating breakthroughs that could help everybody. So when you put all these pieces together, you start to see a different picture of the future, right? It's not one of conflict. It's one built around a brand new kind of intelligence.
Look, I think the biggest fear everyone has about AI is losing their job. But maybe that's the wrong way to look at it. The story isn't really about job loss. It's about job change. A huge, and yeah, probably difficult, restructuring of how we all work.
And here's the wild part. Remember that World Economic Forum report, the one that said 92 million jobs would be displaced? Well, in that same report, they also projected that 170 million new jobs would be created. You do the math, that's a net gain of 78 million jobs. And these new roles? They're all about working with AI, not against it.
And that, right there, is the most important thing to remember. This isn't a battle for who wins, humans or machines. It's a shift toward a new kind of hybrid intelligence, where we take the raw logical power of AI and combine it with the wisdom, the creativity, and the empathy that for now is still uniquely ours.
So here we are. We've built one of the most powerful tools in human history. The tool itself doesn't have an agenda. So the real question, the one that's going to define our future, isn't what the AI will do. It's what we will build with it.